quick, but I was asked to come up here to speak as to the benefits financially to our local school district. How many of you ever heard of Elk Lake School District? Good. Dimmick's also noted for something else called Carter Road. Have you people heard of that? Yeah. So they're just over the hill from us. They're in our school district. So I'll just leave it at that for the moment. I'm glad some people hear about Elk Lake. We're a heck of a school district. I'd like to introduce myself. My wife Mary drove me up. It was a bit of a drive and enjoyed the ride. And I'm president, currently president, have been for 4 or 5 years in a row now. Of our school boards. We're a joint operating board at Elk Lake. We also have the career and technology system for Susquehanna County and 2 of Wyoming County schools. So there's 7, including us, sending schools going to our career and technology. And we just had a good meeting yesterday with business and industry, and Chesapeake was there, Linde Oil, Williams Oil Pipelines, names you hear, and they're excited about what we're doing. But these companies are spending money. Just to give you a quick example, I'm going to be wandering off of this. One of the major oil companies, gas line companies, are cutting back on the miles of pipeline put in over the next year because they can't get a hold of the experienced welders to do it. Only reason, resources are there, the need is there, and we're trying to help meet that need. Where I'm going with this, you folks up here, get ready. Get uses for your gas. Get your, I don't know the names of your power company stuff. Get them switched over to gas. Have them ready to switch over, because that's where the gas has to go. A few of us running in vehicles doesn't make much difference. Chesapeake is working with Dandy Mini Marts. They have a lot of gas stations. They control it in Bradford County and around. But there's a grant that's available to the government. Dandy Mini Marts is going to be putting in gas, bottled gas type stations. And as part of that, Chesapeake is committed to put 50 vehicles on right away that will utilize that to help them offset their cost. That will help. I heard school buses mentioned. I happen to drive a school bus. That's a good place, no question. But keep in mind, the school bus runs 180 days of the year, twice in our area right now. And so they're only on the road about 3.5 hours a day for 1/2 of the days of the year. That's not gonna get the volume up there you need. You need the trucks, you need the vehicles that run day in and day out to utilize it. You'll need heavy equipment operators. Get your schools on board. I think you have BOCES up here, I believe it's called, where we have career technologies. Make sure they're on board with that. The local people will be utilized. No, the Roughnecks, they'll come from down south until they can be trained up here, but there's just so many things that come along with it. Nothing but positive as far as the cash and money influx into the area. I'll get back to me. For 30 years plus, I was a self-employed milking equipment dealer in 4+ counties down in my area. Prior to this, I worked on the family dairy farm until the age of 26 when I got involved with Surge Milking Equipment Dealership. That was a big step. This greatly expanded my awareness of dairy farmers' efforts to keep their family farm above water, and hopefully to be able to see the next generation to be able to continue on the dairy farm. And that's a plight no matter where you're at. And the reason I got away from the milking equipment business, I did a survey of my customers. How long are they going to be in business for me? And I took more than 2 out of 3 off the list would be out within 10 years, and we're right on track on that. So they're dropping off like flies, and I don't blame anyone for selling their dairy cows. As of December, just a disclaimer, as of December, my wife and myself started receiving royalty payments on our 1.12 acres where our home is. We've been there first of all our married life. I was raised there as a kid. The majority of the land in our area is leased to Chesapeake. Now our school district we're going to be speaking about is Cabot. That's right on the border. When we were negotiating for a contract at the time, just to the east of us was all Cabot, just to the west of us was all Chesapeake. They both wanted us. We got a heck of a good deal at the time, nothing compared to what's come down the pike since. I'll touch on that. About our schools, the Elk Lake School District was formed as a consolidated school district and was opened in 1957. At that time, grades 1 through 12, and in recent years, full-day kindergarten was added, so there's 13 grades there now. Figures will indicate that. In 1984, the Susquehanna Career and Technology System was built and opened, serving 7 public school districts. Currently, we are completing construction of a career center expansion, which will add 6 new programs of study, and one of the big ones for our area is going to be a major welding shop, and that's going to be utilized for weekend programs and for night programs, and we already have adult people. There's monies out there for people who want to retrain and so forth, and this will go over big, especially the welding. Our school is grades K through 12. Enrollment currently, the current enrollment is 1,259 students, to give you an idea of our size. We're not a huge school. The Career Center has an additional 318 students plus 106 part-time students. And those 318 are mostly high school students, grades 10 through 12. But there is, I don't have the number right here, but there is adult students in the Career Center. We're an extremely rural school district. To just draw you a picture, we have no fast food restaurants, no McDonald's, anything like that within the school district. We have no hotel or motel I'm aware of within our school district. We have no red light within the school district. We're getting pretty rural. We've got 2 flashing lights, amber on one side and stop and go, red on the other. And so, yeah, kind of rural. Love it. On February 21st of 2008, we signed a lease with Cabot Oil and Gas Company, and that was at 12.5% and $750 per acre. At that time, $200 an acre was huge money, and within weeks after that, it was $1,000, $1,200, $2,000. You've heard other figures since then. $5,750 on a roll is about the most average. Got a neighbor over the hill that's got $8,100 for a fair-sized farm. Drilling of the 2 wells. Wait a minute, on April 1st of the same year, that'll be 5 years ago tomorrow, I walked with the guys. They marked out where Elk Lake 1 and Elk Lake 2 wells would be. Drilling of the 2 wells, 1 vertical and 1 horizontal, were done 1 year later in the summer of 2009. Cabot's been great to work with. We requested that, they do the drilling and what they could between while school's out in the summertime. Fantastic, they did it. And if we could have Google Earth up, I could show you the whole thing. Just for your information, if you guys, everybody's got computers pretty much, get on to Google Earth. It was October 6th or 7th, the latest flyover with new mapping in our area anyhow. And you can see everything that's going on and pads and stuff. And don't get alarmed by looking at the pads and all the bare ground. A lot of this will be reclaimed. One at Elk Lake's been reclaimed magnificently. With the 2 wells on it. Requested by us shortly after this, the wells were hydraulically fractured. And if I recall correctly, we received our first royalty payment the last week of June of 10, which was just prior to our board passing our final draft of the 2010-11 budget. Your school budget years, at least for us, is 1st of July is the new year. And I'm certain, I would assume it's the same up here. I've got a note here. Go to my facts chart. Fast facts. Here it is. Just to give you some numbers, our total budget for the last school year that we're in right now for Elk Lake, there's nothing to do with the Career Center, is $17,470,000 and a little bit more. Our enrollment, 1259 K through 12, I said that. We have a dual county equalized mill. In other words, we've got lands in Susquehanna County and Wyoming County. We've got Mashopin Borough and Mashopin Township. The government sets up the way the millage is because it's not parallel between the 2 counties. But basically, our dual county equalized mill is $138,000. I won't bore you with them broke down individually. Our average tax bill, just taking the average home and property in our school district last year was $947 for school taxes. It does not include township, county, and a couple odd things. But school taxes are the big hitter. gas lease, our income we have received in 2008, the 750 per acre we've got 179 acres. That brought us in $315,000 for sign-on bonus. It could have been a lot more if it had been done a little later, but that's okay. In 09, there was 300, oh wait a minute. That was $134,000, $134,775. We're going to come down to gas royalties. I'll go across the page. Royalties, none in 9 and 10, we got $296,000 plus in royalties. In 11, $746,000 plus. We project 12 by the end of a couple months from now to be $370,000. Now keep in mind, you guys are hearing, I can't quote them, but the price of taxes, the gas is just going in the dump, and that's why there needs to be used for tax. For the gas, there has to be lots of outlets for it to utilize it. Don't let them bottle it and put it in a ship and send it across. America needs it. Delinquent taxes. Now this is something, pretty much most of this will have to do with what we have in Susquehanna County. I don't agree with it. There's a Clean and Green Act. The Clean and Green Act, I agree with the fact, is to help people with active farms, be it an orchard or a dairy farm or a crop farm or whatever, to help keep the taxes down. Years ago, some real estate developers when they got it passed, they brought it down to 10, if you had 10 acres or more, you were eligible for Clean and Green. Now in that, it's supposed to stay in some sort of farming. Well, I've not seen too many farms in our area with 10 acres to make any kind of living on. But that's what the powers to be thought. So, in this arrangement, we've gotten a bunch of money here we really didn't see coming. Okay, the family farm right around me, 300 acres. It was taken out of Clean and Green for a full year because there's 2 well pads put on it. So the whole thing's taken out. So there's penalties and interest paid on X amount of years back because of the commercial use of the land. If your lease has it in it, the gas company is responsible for picking up that tab. There are some people in early leases did not have that. That was rough on them. Paying big taxes because there was a pad put on their property and have seen no royalties or anything from it yet. But then the following year, you take that 5, 6, 7 acres of disturbed ground. The rest of it can go back and Clean and Green, reduce taxes as it was. That remains at a higher tax where the production unit is. And at that point, if it's in your lease, the gas oil companies pick up the tab on that. If it's not, the landowner is responsible. But that keeps it up at a higher rate. So across the board, for 10, 11, and 12, 12 is estimated at $370,000. We've taken in $1.4 million as a result of that. And so basically, I read the wrong line across. In 08 it was $315,000, 09 $313, jumped to $465,000 in 10, 11 clear up to $741,000, virtually $742, for a total over the span of $892. Well, the bottom line is, with all these figures in there, we have realized, providing we remain at this $370,000 for our gas royalties, where we're predicting it right now, we'll remain at the end of the school year at $2,440,000 and $244. So $2.44 million. And that's nothing to sneeze at. That has certainly helped us. And before somebody asks, well, where's the money gone? Because our taxpayers are asking that, and this and that and so forth. Some of them want us to put it in career technology. No, the career technology is paid for by all the sending schools. If you put it into that, we just have the Elk Lake taxpayers putting that money into it. Because that's paid for by a tuition cost per student. It basically goes in the general fund. It's helped keep taxes down. As I mentioned earlier, we had our first royalty check came just a couple, 3 days before. And we had to do the final passing of the budget. And with that coming, we said, okay, we don't need to raise taxes. We didn't. We haven't really raised our property taxes in 8 years. I might be stretching to say 10, I will say 8 comfortably. Yeah, they go up and down just a little bit, and a lot of that has to do with the value of the land in Wyoming County versus Susquehanna County in this dual county equalized mill deal. But virtually, it stayed the same. And of course, our expenses go up. We all know that, and God love them, teacher salaries go up and so forth. The budget in Pennsylvania, I'll say this, I'm a Republican. We have a Democratic governor for what, 8 years or whatever. I will say that Fastedi was very good for education. I put the money into education, he was good for us. The last 2 years, he took the stimulus money that Obama put out and around printed, and he used that to balance budgets. Well, that's just a train wreck waiting to happen. The next, that was the end of his governorship. The next governor coming in, short of the Lord himself, wouldn't be able to balance the budget. So we've got a Republican governor now, and he has slashed education terribly. He has seen that he is pro-career technology centers. He gave us a little boost there. So basically, our budget is flat from what it was last year, and the stunt he pulled, he's taken the teacher's retirement. I don't know how you are here, but our teacher's retirement in Pennsylvania, the school's responsible for 50%, and the can's been kicked down the road too long. And the curve on that, the amount we have to kick in over the next several years is staggering. It'll go up by 4 times. But to go beyond that, a year later, the state reimburses us half of that amount. So in essence, the state's responsible when the dust settles for 75% of the retirement fund for teachers. And I assume it's the same way for all state employees, be it PennDOT or whatever it is, but it is for the teachers anyhow. That's a big ticket item. The state's got a problem. It's going to hurt the school districts too. Well, our governor took this year and he says, okay, here in this new budget, we kept it flat for you, but we're going to make this grant over here. This grant has, we're going to put into this grant, we'll put the retirement fund in that, and we'll put transportation in it. Now, traditionally, forever, as far as I know, there's been a rate factor increase of 1% or 2 or 3 each year. You will get more for transporting your students. I mentioned we're an extremely rural school district. Any of us that are rural school districts are going to take a real beating next year. The governor will be able to say, I'm getting off track, the governor will be able to say, hey, listen, we don't have enough money in the budget to cover that grant, so we're going to slash it in half or whatever. And we're going to be hanging out in the wind trying to transport students and pay our share of the retirement. And so I got off track there. But you just...
We can appreciate it.
Okay. Delinquent taxes, let's see, I'll speak about the clean and green. I think I did. When we'll pass partial removed, yep, clean and green. If the lease agreement, yes, can we address, I've covered that. Just to give you an idea, with the price of gas going down a bunch, I requested quite some time ago that each month the school board gets a printout. It's there for our taxpayers on the table when they come into the board meeting, the few that come. But right here, our most current printout would have been in 2000, this school year, and this last month, February 24th, we received a check for $36,000 plus. Previous month, $39,000. Previous month, $34,000. Previous 28, $38,000. And we go back to September of last year, $49,000. Previous month, $65,000, $66,000. So there's 2 things going on. Price of gas has been throttled back somewhat because of the price, and because every time a pipeline or a well comes on, they don't have that market for it. And so it gets back off and the price is tanked. It isn't that our wells have appreciated that much. I heard conversation about wells and flow and so forth. For Cabot, I can speak a bit about them and a lot about Chesapeake because they're in the dooryard all around us. It's a learning curve for them also as far as the shale. One of the first wells drilled in the Civic area was a teal well, Greenwoods and Teals. Ann Teals on our school board, wonderful, wonderful woman. It's her father-in-law that owns the land around there. Well, they come in and drilled that first hole, and nobody said anything. They walked away from them for, didn't hear nothing for about 6 weeks. roughnecks started talking to bars and so forth. Whoa, we got over 4,000 PSI on that well head, just sitting there capped off. These are unheard of pressures. This is where the Marcellus in the area started to come into play. That's when everybody scrambled to sign all the leases, get all the leases signed they could as far as companies go. We got something here. Then the seismic testing come through after that, and everything, and the rest is history. But you see, now this is, I like to talk about facts. This isn't fact, but this is true. When they come up here from down the Virginias or wherever, they're used to 2,000, 2,400 PSI of pressure when they drill a hole. They come up here and hit 4,000. Yeah, maybe they weren't cemented and encased as well as they were down there where it didn't need to be. I think, I'm using think, this has to do with some of the issues. The wells on the farm around me, the first two wells drilled over across the other side of the woods, can't tell you how many layers of casing, but it was what they were using. They come up behind our house, within a few months, drilled 2 holes, there was one more casing, one more layer of cement. They come back a few months later, 3, 4, 5, drill a 3rd hole, another layer. This is what Chesapeake was doing on their own. This was they're proactive. But if they will do it, and I'm not going to tell you they can walk on water, but if you talk to them in a reasonable tone and say, listen, there's an issue here, this or that or the roads or whatever, they respond to it. Cabot responds to it. At Elk Lake School, we have not had one issue with Cabot, not one. Just to give you some examples of rumor mills. Oh, I hate it. Board members come in. I heard, or so-and-so told me, I don't know, well, their brother-in-law or whatever, that, well, we got bad water here at school, or whatever it might be. Well, I heard and this and that. That's how things get going, bad information. And so you kind of think, oh, God, here we go. Give me hard facts. Here's a hard fact. Your water, what is it, DEC up here? DEC. We've got DEP. The company that does our water testing, we have to do it 4 times a year for the school. Maybe it's twice a year, we're doing it 4 times a year. I think maybe it's mandated twice, we do it 4 times anyhow. Is in Waverly, New York. They do more work in New York State than for us. So I was there with Dr. Bush, our superintendent, 3 years ago or whatever. My biggest concern was this whole deal is water. We got 3 huge water wells. Nothing like the 3.5 gallons a minute I've got running our house. So this is my biggest concern over the whole thing. If our water gets tainted, I mean, what are we going to do? Just putting a 275-gallon water buffalo out there, it wouldn't last about a minute for 1,400, 15, 16, 17, 1,800 people in the building. So we've been very good at that, but we're having our water sampled at New York State's DEC specifications, which has a lot more tests in it than DEP does. But we want to be certain, because if there's a slip of any sort, we want to know about it. Hell, we can't hide it. We don't want to hide it. We want, it's got to be right. And I'm sure we'll be made right. There's no problem. There hasn't been. And the well's been running, I was telling you here, a couple of years here now. I can't say enough good about Cabot and the Elk Lake School District. When we need a little something here or there, they've come to bat. We've got an organization for career technology. Well, they help our career technology. They're in Susquehanna County based. They help a lot of people, but they get scholarship money together and so forth, find a need, they put it there. In our career technology, we have each course, maybe the carpentry course where we build houses, the kids might need $200 or $300 to buy maybe their steel sole shoes, some basic tools, not power tools, cosmetology. They need $200 or $300 to buy a kit. And some of these kids, we are a poor rural school district. We cry a lot that we're real poor. We're not quite as poor as we tell the government, I guess, but trying to lead on. But sometimes these kids know for 3 months they've got to have this money together when school starts. And they really, the families can't put that money together. And especially if they got a couple kids in courses and so forth. Well, this organization in Montrose, talking with Cabot, they said, hey, this ain't right. We need to put money where it helps. Cabot put $25,000 into a kitty for them to, and we don't know where it went. But through a course, through the teachers, and through our building administrator, that money gets to the kids that need it to buy their kits and so forth. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. And sure, these gas companies will do things for good PR, they help out fire departments in our area, they'll help out this and that and so forth, ball fields. But it's a good thing. It's basically common sense. That's what I'm doing on school board. I am not the smartest person in Auburn Township. I've been on the board for 4 or 5 elections now, whatever it's been. Bringing common sense to it. I've got a school board I'll stand against anybody's anywhere. We've all worked with our hands. We've got some college educated ones. I am not one of them. Graduated in '67 from the school. And boy, I'll tell you what, I majored in study halls. And that don't happen anymore. In my senior year, I had 13 study halls a week. Well, that's cool. You can't get away with that.
No kid left behind.
Oh, yeah. We'll start there. Yeah, our special needs and special education kids are mixed in with the rest of them for our SATs. They got to perform in that upper percentile. Sometimes it just can't happen. But no, that was, and I think it worked pretty well, but that wasn't one of the better moves. Breakdown in the school, I've given you the numbers there. But basically I want to say that this has been a very positive partnership with Capital Oil and Gas. If we knew then what we know now, they wouldn't have got away with $750 an acre, 12.5%. My wife and I happen to have a small parcel of ground, 10 acres plus a little bit, that the lease ran out on. And with Chesapeake, they started calling up, saying, hey, we need to extend this lease. And this and that, they're offering some smaller money stuff. It probably took 6-7 weeks of very polite conversation, tell them, hey, you lost 2%, look underneath your desk or something, you lost 2%. But we got what I consider a pretty good lease because, and I heard it mentioned before, that 10 acres, they could have, and they reminded me of it from Oklahoma, but I didn't deal with Oklahoma, I dealt with the local office, they're great people up there. They could have used the right of capture, come right through, accidentally take it out underneath that, and it would have been dispersed amongst all the people involved in that lake. So anyway, they didn't have to do that, but I sat down and talked to them a couple of hours, and they did figure out that I hadn't just fallen off a turnip truck, I'd been around a bit, and that helped. And basically, is there any questions pertaining to schools, to what's going on in our area? I do have some pictures here. Oh, let me just give you a quick look here. This is our school district. This is an older, earlier picture. That won't work. Let's go on.
If you want to sit down here and drive it.
No. Currently, I think in the latest photos you'll see it. We are in the process. We had to move this pavilion. Our Career Center kids built a new one up here, but we've got a big expansion here. It's all under roof now, and it'll be open this summer for the additional 6 programs in career technology. There's been a few changes, but this is our school. It's all under one roof, K through 12. Our career technology currently aligned just about like that. There's the career technology, and now we're going to have a separate building here. Last summer we remodeled a lot of this. Some more will be done. That was all new from '84. And we're a good school district. This year we're going to replace a couple of roofs here. And every roof will have been changed on this huge district, this huge building in the last 10 or 11 years. We shouldn't have to look at a roof project for 10 to a dozen years. Our boilers are all in good shape. Just telling you, bragging up our school. I watched the papers in our area, such and such school district had to float a bond for $1.5 million, $2 million, they had to replace a lot of roads and so forth. Now, we do it as we go. We were debt-free until we borrowed some money to put this expansion on here. If you go to the next slide, please. Not exactly sure what's what, but that's just a stock photo we've had. This was taken in, that was before the expansion was put on. That was just a little fresher picture. One of the board members was up flying around, took that one, and that was before we did an expansion here. The next one, this would be April Fool's Day. 5 years ago, when we marked out, where they marked out the stake, I was down there, so that's just reflecting on that right there. Well, that's the wrong date. I know it was April Fool's Day. Well, my camera was wrong. Go ahead. This is the drilling process on our, I don't know which Fish Wells was, they're both side by side, but over the hill from our school. Would you mind backing up a couple pictures? I want to show about where that well is. Some people have come out to board meetings, and I've read in the paper, well, our place got a drilled well within 100 feet or so of their building. Right here is the corner of our primary center. Our wells are about there. And if you have Google Earth, you can measure it. I think you'll have 1,200 feet between there. So it's not 100 or 200 feet, because hearsay. It's down under the knoll. We can see the rigs while they were drilling. Yeah, I can jump ahead a couple. And there'll be another one here after that. These were smaller drilling rigs than what we had at Chesapeake. They did use the open pit here. I'll say this. I think Cabot's in the process of going to a closed containment for the liquids that come out. Chesapeake has been doing that right along in our area, so it's not pits catching water. And Chesapeake is supposed to, according to George Stark, supposed to be going over to the closed containers. Go ahead again. Just another shot, and then we know where we end here. There's only one or two more. This is it's pretty well done. We're online and so forth. Snow on the ground. If this is accurate, March 6th, 10. There's two wells. I'm not sure where the wellheads show up. One here, one here. I heard mention Christmas trees, or the tree, or whatever, on top of the ground. That's what we were told too. Each of these has a heater on it. I believe the ones behind my house, 3 of them running 700 feet behind my house, are 750,000 BTUs each, run 24/7. And of course, the gas for them comes before the metering, so you know, you're not getting paid for it at all. But each of these have a heater on them. These are pretty quiet heaters, the one behind the house or not. They came in and put a fence all around this. I'm glad it was done on school property and so forth. Something I don't like out in the country where we're at, great big old fence with razor wire on top, like it's a prison. Don't like it. They could at least put green up there and don't need razor wire. Somebody wants to get in there, they can cut the lock and walk in. So I gotta say, I'm pro what the gas can do for your area, what it's done for ours. Employment, I think that wraps up those pictures in that slide. I do have other pictures of our wells around home, if somebody wants to see them, but you got a lot to go tonight. I think that's the last one. Okay, good. Employment in the area. You just don't think of the guys driving the dump trucks, driving the heavy equipment, driving the water tankers, and there's lots of them. Chesapeake is in the process of there's a lot of containment ponds. They haul the water to these ponds, big fence around them, then it's pumped out onto each fracking site, usually just going over the line. Their intentions are, and there's plans to bury water lines to go from pond A, B, C, D, so they pump right out of the river and just chase it around. That'll take a lot of traffic off the roads. That will put some guys out of work with bog trucks and so forth. The local, you will see, there's pros and cons to it, you will see your restaurants hiring more staff, local, just to cover the demand. They'll be open longer hours. You'll see your gas stations, diesel stations, more staff, more money going in and out of there, constantly. Anything you can envision the normal worker would do when is spending money in the course of the day, multiply that by many, and you will have it. Money is spent locally, and it makes a lot more employment for the local people. And as time comes down the road, I'm certain there'll be some training so that there'll be less of and they've been great guys, the roughnecks from down south, and more local people. That's a very, very specialized business they're in. It's not like when I'm drilling a 500-foot water well. It's nowhere near it. And I just want to say there's things to watch out for. You guys have a great opportunity, and it's a ways up there, but I wouldn't mind sitting down with you sometime and saying, just writing down, here's some watch outs. Watch out for this and that. Be prepared. But find a market for that gas up here. If you guys won't drill, we'll send it up.
Any schools closing down there?
Not yet, but I do think the unofficial grand scheme of things, our governor that just stepped out of office here last year, or 2 years ago now, basically, There's 501 school districts, public school districts in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia can't balance themselves or do anything, so then the state's kind of taking them over, so they make it 500. And he said, oh, we're going to save a lot of money, we're going to take all these school districts and we're going to take and compress them, make 100 school districts. You know, I mentioned we're rural. Our superintendent is paid a very fair wage. But if you break down the hours that he puts in to his business, we've got teachers making a whale of a lot more per hour than what he is. And I'm not naysaying the teachers. Our school's going to be closing. I wouldn't be surprised in some schools and stuff, you might see some consolidation, especially the transportation thing. But how can you close schools out in the country? I don't see it happening unless they just can't financially make it.
So in the country, they're not close to that.
In the country, I don't know if any are going to be closing down. But as this budget gets tightened in and tightened in, I'm fearful of it. Man.
We've been hearing all these things about how the heavy traffic is gonna run over our school buses and kill our kids. Have you had a whole bunch of that happening down there?
You're talking to the right person. A jack of all trades and a master of none. Our school district, for the main part, is owner-operator bus drivers, contractors. I'm going to talk as a school board member, we pay you as a contractor to run this route. You haul this amount of kids on that bus, we're going to pay you $42,000, depending on the age of your bus, the miles, the kids, and formula.
Have fun.
Well, Dad drove for 57 and a half years. That was a while. And last summer, I used to drive a bus years ago, 30 years ago or more, drove quite a bit for him. Yeah, okay, I went back and got my CDL and everything majorly involved, so I'm driving bus this last school year. Been very interesting. I have requested, we have cameras in the bus to monitor the students the school is paid for. I've requested, we're having problems with the camera company. I want 2 cameras, front and rear, for drive-throughs. I've had probably 5 drive-throughs, my red lights, the 8-way red lights this year. All of them, fortunately, students were getting off and going to the right, traffic was coming, no student involvement. 2 of them were gas vehicles early in the school year when school opened. One was a sand truck, they come in for fracking, and these are guys just coming in here a few times and who knows where they're going to next. The local guys running the trucks to the water impoundments, I've had no problem with. They're local people. They know the buses run this and that and so forth. Not a problem with them. I've had a couple cars go through, or 4-wheel vehicles, pickups that I know were gas people. And I want to catch them on a camera because they need to lose their license.
Yes, they do.
I hollered at the guy the other night. I put a CB radio in so I could talk with drivers, keep track when they're running heavy to one side or another. It works good.
Yeah.
And a guy, he came through my ambers, but I was waiting and waiting to open the door up, and he never let off his throttle to come through. I jumped on him on the CB radio and blessed him and so forth. His buddy that was running with him, it was dead quiet till they were out of my distance, then they went talking again, I'm sure. So, no, and I will say something, I gotta say this for Chesapeake. I've got issues with Chesapeake, I've had a few. But on their one bus route, there's a water impoundment on a dirt road, and I've seen as many as early in the year. Well, I had to dodge on the 1-lane dirt road. We had to play leapfrog, if you want to call it that. I had to take the bus up through here because they're lined up to come through here, 1-lane dirt road. And those 3 or 4 would move, then I'd have to go around, 3 or 4 move, I'd have to go around. And I got a hold of Chesapeake, and I said, listen, this isn't working, and we get snow on the road and so forth. It's just, it can't work. I said, you got to do something. I gave a suggestion, which was the logical suggestion. There's a dirt road up to the left, nobody runs on but the mail lady. I said, you just stage your trucks up there. You can only unload 2 or 3 at a time. They had a safety meeting on a Thursday, Friday morning. When I come through there, they were staged back up around the corner on the CB radio. Yep, got room for 2 more trucks, 2 at a time, come down around. If you don't holler and growl, you just go out and say, we have a problem here.
Good stuff.
Man, they want to work with you. They don't want to be bad neighbors. None of these gas companies want to be a bad neighbor. No way. Now, they will work you for the best lease they can get, and if they come talking to you about 12.5%, I used to be a salesperson. Whoa, you started talking to me about 12.5%. I said, wait a minute. I says, you mean 87.5% for blah blah company
Yeah.
and 12.5% for the landowner, of which, in our area, nearly 2% you're never seeing. It's getting paid back for cost of transportation. And I was standing right next to a buddy when he called to Oklahoma. He and I have the exact same lease on our, he got like 3.5 acres, I got 1 plus, what we have. But, well, yeah, what's that cost of transportation? Well, that's the pipelines we have to put to the wells to, transport the gas out of there. So the landowners are paying that, and a pew clause would get rid of that, and that's a tough sell to get rid of that. But keep it in mind, don't expect 12.5% if you sign 12.5% lease unless it's covered.
So getting rid of deductions from has been a tough sell?
A tough sell to get rid of that deduction. I couldn't get it out of
Right.
the 10 acres or so that I just negotiated a month ago. Couldn't get it out, but they came up in interest, or in percentage very nicely, and the dollars per acre, haven't seen the check yet, but.
Got 90 days to check that.
No.
Make sure you own
It
that.
says 120 days when I got reading the print. And here you go. I thought I negotiated a good lease. I did. Okay, we'll sign it. Cute gal comes out, you know. Sent her down to my wife's place of business, look her up, she needed her signature. I get looking the thing over a little later in the day, they added a little paragraph, knowing what's going on in Pennsylvania. I will paraphrase. Should legislation enact a severance fee or whatever, the leasing and leaseor will share. It doesn't even say share.
What percent?
What
It didn't say they would
percentage.
pay 87.5, you would pay 12.
So I might have 99% of that to foot, and then one, I don't know. But they did get me, but I got a good lease. Anything else?
Are you able to burn your own gas in the school district for your boilers, or?
No, one of the issues, and we want to go to it, our expansion we just put on, I was telling you about, they are gas burners on top. We've got bottle gas tanks sitting out there running right now. One of the problems are we're very rural, and UGI has a contract in our area for distribution of the gas to the businesses, to the homeowners and so forth. And I think that probably we can eventually give them to say, okay, we're gonna tap into it, we're gonna use it for the school, it'll be good publicity and so forth. But they need a major town to recoup their investment of laying the lines and everything that's involved. Of course, you gotta add the, whatever it is, the stink to the gas, because this gas is odorless. If you folks aren't aware, the gas that we're getting is extremely dry gas. They can pretty much ship it. Southwestern part of our state, it's a wet gas. They've gotta spend more money drying it out and doing things to it before they can ship it, put it in the pipeline. So, did that answer that?
Yeah, I got another one though.
Okay.
Your district, has it been able to sock any of this windfall away for the future, or are you spending it as fast as you get?
We're squirrels. We're squirrels. We've set aside $2 million to help cushion this drastic increase in the retirement fund that we will have to be paying our share of.
So you're setting aside dollars and we're setting aside teachers, I like that.
You're what?
We're laying
If
them
you're
off.
setting aside dollars and we're setting aside teachers.
Well, we don't brag in public where we're at financially. We need to negotiate contracts with all the employees and so forth.
I wish we had your problems.
I've got a gentleman over here waiting. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Where was it?
I just want to know if your enrollment has changed. I've been told that.
Our enrollment's staying pretty flat. You know, I mentioned we don't have a crystal ball to know. But in my opinion, we have no hotels, no motels, no lodging. Downside, I don't know what you have here for lodging, probably a lot more than good old Elk Lake does. In Bradford County, downside, people have been renting for years and years. Gas Play comes in, they're willing to pay 3 times the rate to get a place to, employees to live. They are building facilities. They've just bought the Camptown School. Chesapeake has to take that into a living facility for employees and stuff. That'll alleviate that a little bit. But a lot of people couldn't afford the increase in rate that the homeowners or the rental owners had on the negative side. It's to be considered.
They moved out.
Moved out, and I don't know where. I'm assuming someone moved in back with mom and dad or the in-laws or whatever. have another one here.
One of the many things that the antis are decrying is the breakdown of the social fabric of the area where this occurs. And they say especially, crime and the increase in red light types of business.
Well, I don't know about red light in our area, I know what you're talking about.
You said you didn't have any.
We don't have streets for anybody to walk on and speak of.
They don't need streets.
Okay. Crime. There's been a lot of crime committed against the gas companies, damage done to their ponds,
Yeah.
valves, equipment stolen, vandalized, and so forth. I've got to say that about crime. They're not working done by gas workers. These guys work real hard, and some of them like their beer real hard too when they're at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But let me say this: going into Wysox and into Tawanda, Bradford County, is the only place in my life I've ever seen. There's 2 or 3 signs as you go in. PennDOT signs, high DUI area. They've been there for years, long before gas. But if you want to look at our newspapers down there, there's quite a few arrests for DUI and one thing or another. The gas companies won't stand for it. You get one of them, you're gone.
All right.
You don't even talk about it, but it happens. As far as causing crime, get out of here. As far as causing crime, I'd say the biggest crime is DUI, or maybe might be a jealous boyfriend or husband's grabbing somewhere sometime.
Thank you.
And that happens.
That's the third thing bigger in Texas.
We got one more.
Have you seen, in addition to the economic development and stimulus from the actual drilling and production, have you also seen any secondary where businesses that are highly dependent on energy costs are starting to relocate to your area? Have you seen any of that?
No, not yet. You happen to mention business, I'm gonna jump over a little bit. The local fella, Kelly, that owns the 2 Taylor rental places, one in South Montrose, one in Tunkhannock. I think he hired on 20 employees between the 2 places. More equipment put out, more service, more to deliver. That's just an example right in the neighborhood. He's just smiling big. If you talk to him, he's got a smile and stuff. And any of the other businesses around that have dump trucks or whatever, they've all added a lot of equipment on. We're shopping stone. Billy Rourke is the biggest fellow in our area for hauling water, stone, building pads, whatever. And he is a businessman. He is one of the 2 best businessmen I've ever met or known of. But he is really working with gas play. A lot of business from, I don't want to minimize it, but from waitressing that's needed to truck drivers. At school, we have 4 or 5 of our own school buses. We need to hire CDL drivers for. I'm a CDL driver. Having a hard time keeping butts in the seats because they can go out and drive a water truck for a lot more than what we can pay. We increased it $2 an hour this year and it hasn't helped.
And they don't have screaming kids.
There's 3 of them right up here that I drive, but I can drive.
I just have a comment. I'm also a bus driver on the rural roads up here, and I can't wait for them to come up here and fix the roads. Because and I wanted, just lost my track of tree.
We'll fix the roads, the traffic on the roads.
After the tropical storms came through in September,
Yeah.
our roads are miserable. It's a good thing we did not have a lot of snow, because on my roads, there are no edges. They're like 6 feet deep. I mean, the road just drops off, so I can't wait for our roads to get good.
Our secondary roads that we live on type things, not in our township roads are dirt. State ones were, Susquehanna County used to say chip them or skip them. They throw a little bit of tar on, a little bit of gravel on, they call it chipping. And most of the gravel winds up in ditches. That was the road work. But most of the roads in our area are built up this much higher than they were before.
We've been down there to see them.
And so they brought in a lot of, they dig and trench out and put drain tiles in. They put a lot of crushed stone in there. And I will say they're a little high. You don't want to get off the road with a bus or anything. But they have taken them out as wide as they can. They've done a great job on the roads. The dad, well, you have to know my dad appreciated him lots of levels. We drove that bus 57.5 years. How are you getting back here so quick each day? Because I've got a few more miles to drive than he did. I'm driving on better roads than he ever dreamed of, as far as smooth.
I look forward to that.
Yeah. You know, your kids on there, sit down, hang on, and shut up.